Hi, and welcome to another edition of On the Marquee. I am your host, John Ballantyne, and I want to thank our sponsors for this edition, Dr. John Cox and The Photo Place. Our guest today, almost everybody knows if you've done any shows here at the Playhouse over any length of time. She has served in many capacities, from crew member to lighting designer to board member to any number of other things. And of course, I speak of Leslie Brown. Leslie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good.
Good. You were at one time with the Northside Community Theater.
Yes.
Now, how did you end up coming over to the Playhouse?
Well, before the Playhouse. Before I was at Northside, I was at the Playhouse.
Okay.
So when I was at YSU, friends of mine were working here and I came over and helped. When I was in high school, I came over here and ushered. This has been a part of my life for a very long time, this facility. When I came back from going away to college, when I was at YSU, I had worked with Dr. Hulshofer. When I came back, he was working at Northside. And so I went over to help him. And then, actually, when he came over here to do a show, I came over here to do a show. Yeah. And so then I was over doing stuff over here because the Northside sort of dwindled away. And he went back and did some things at YSU. And I started doing more things here.
Okay, all right. Now, when you were here, many of the icons, the Griffiths, the John Abbeys, Vera Friedman, all of those people were here. How did their influence over time affect the Playhouse?
What's interesting about these people is that they recycled. They came and did incredible things at the Playhouse, sort of faded away, and then came back and did more things and were more influential. Vera, who came back on the board, was very influential in what happened in later years at the Playhouse. John Griffith came and painted signs and scenery, and so I got to know him that way. How wonderful. Rennie left us a beautiful gift to start the things going on in the Moyer room. One of my regrets is I never got to meet Helen Moyer. I wish that I had known Helen Moyer. Really.
We had, in fact, we talked with Katie Kimple, and she did her impression of Helen Moyer, and her Southern Drive was great.
To read about her, it's really influential. This probably wouldn't exist without Helen.
Yeah, and she was here for many, many years.
And I'm glad we keep her name alive by our Moyer room. So, but yeah.
Yeah, there were, and you talk about, well, you mentioned John Griffith, and I think there was a show that he and John Abbey, I think, served as stage manager and assistant stage manager. So it was kind of, their names were big, but they kind of came up through the ranks like a lot of other people had. They didn't just walk on stage and start.
No, everybody did. If you read the book that I brought in to talk about, everybody did everything. Just like now, everybody does whatever needs done.
Right. Yeah. And leading into that, a lot of people may not be real sure exactly what you do here. I said in the intro, you wear many hats. So, everybody sees you around, and of course you're probably doing something different for every show. Kind of give us a rundown on basically what you do here.
Well, I can tell you what I'd like to do. I have a degree in theater design. Actually, it's opera design. So I love designing. I love working with lighting. I've done some sets. I also love stage managing. So I've done that for a number of shows. Sometimes I do both things simultaneously. The other thing that I learned how to do when I worked for the symphony was nonprofit administration. So I have a real background in box office management and also in arts administration. So part of what I do when I'm not doing a show here is helping out in the box office, or now that I'm on the board, right? I'm a licensed school treasurer, so I'm one of the treasurers for the board of directors.
Okay.
So, like you said, many hats
Many hats, and that's really what you need in a theater like this.
in a community theater.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of changes here over the times that you've been here. A lot of ups and downs. How has that affected the Playhouse over the year in both positive and negative ways?
Well, that's a loaded question. I think theater is about change. So change is, even though it can be stressful, it's a good thing. We have gained things and lost things through the changes. I am happy that we have an elevator, but I mourn the arena. On an ongoing basis, I miss doing shows in the arena.
Oh yeah.
So things like that. We've had huge highs, and we closed for a little while, and we closed this last year. So we've had real lows. This last year, though, even though we were closed, the community support has been awesome for the Playhouse.
It has. Yeah.
We are in a really good shape to start our season because of the government grants and the community support that we've received.
That's good.
So, yeah.
And that's a good sign, because when you're closed for a period of time, you wonder, getting people back in, getting people interested again. Well, they're already interested because they've shown it in that way.
So I was amazed and grateful that people are willing to help out.
Well, that's good.
So looking forward to starting up again.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's a dark theater is, I mean, financially, obviously, but just sitting there, nothing going on, the community sometimes tends to move away from it. But I don't really think that's happened here.
I think so.
Has there been anybody here since you started who kind of influenced you, served as a mentor, I guess is what I want to say?
Several people. Paul Kimple. I could talk forever about Paul Kimple.
Well, go ahead.
Loved Paul Kimple. He was, in my opinion, a genius, and so good with people. And I just loved working for him and with him, and I learned more from him than I did in college about designing and painting and, how to run a theater backstage. He was incredibly important to this organization, and I miss him very much. The other one would be David Gendry. David was this little powerhouse.
He was.
I just, loved watching him and being with him and feeding off of his energy. He had so much, especially when he was younger, just so much energy and so interesting to watch. And again, learned more about musical theater from him than anybody else. He knew so much.
He did. He really did.
And had done so much. And then Scarvell. Joe Scarvell, right? Loved him.
Yeah, Joe was a great guy.
Loved him. Loved working with him. He was a teacher.
He was.
More than David was a doer. David was a shower. He would show you how to do something, show you what to do. Scarvell would teach you how to do it and why it was important. And I loved watching him. He was a real teacher. So
yeah, he was. We interviewed him, and I mentioned to him. I said, "You are the kind of director that gets in an actor's face." He said, "Me? I don't get in anybody's face."
Yes, you do.
Yeah, he was. He was. He made you look at things in a way that nobody else quite did, or a different way than everybody else did, I guess. I don't know.
And he'd give you lots of choices. David was very much this is the way the role should be done. And Joe was like, let's explore how we could do this role. Like they talked about, they were doing Glengarry Glen Ross, which I wasn't involved in, unfortunately. That one day he came in and said, we're going to do it kabuki theater style. The whole cast was like, oh my God.
I don't remember that. I was in that.
Because they talk about it. And, that lasted like a day and a half. But all of a sudden, everybody was thinking differently. Like, how are we going to do this? And then coming back to the more normal way of doing it, they were looking at it from a different point of view.
Yeah,
slightly.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
he was really cool about that.
Yeah, he had an interesting approach. He really did.
Out of all the shows you've done here, and there's probably been many, 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 are there any certain ones that are favorites of yours? Are there any certain moments that come to mind that just kind of stick in your mind?
Wow. One of my favorites was in the arena with David Gendry. We did the Fantastics, and I know the Fantastics was done before that and has been done after that.
It's been done numerous times.
But that little show, it's just a little gem of a show,
It is.
priceless little gem of a show, and we had such a great cast. And David, knew exactly what to do with that show, all the little bits and pieces. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch. I watched the rehearsal process, watched the technical process. We had fun with, Terry Wilkes and I were working. We had that big auto transformer board. So we were moving, took two of us to run that board. And it was a really fun show. That was one of my favorites. Trying to think, a show that I loved. Can't say it was a favorite because it's a dark show. Was Scarvel's Death of a Salesman. That I designed the sets and lights and projections for. It was, I thought, a wonderful show, but so depressing.
It is.
So depressing. And I don't know why the Playhouse chooses it. Well, I know why. But it's hard when those are the kinds of shows that we tend to do in the late winter when you're already depressed. And then you're doing the depressing crap. Like, wow. But that was a really wonderful show. We've done a lot of wonderful shows.
We have, yeah.
Just amazing.
And a lot of the ones in the arena were special just because they were down there, and the atmosphere and just the whole was different doing a show there than doing it upstairs. Not that one's better than the other, but it was just different, and it gave everybody just a whole different feel for that particular show. I know they did Finian's Rainbow down. I don't know if it was down there or whether it was in the arena in the Market Street, because they had an arena area in the Market Street Theater. I don't know where, but I don't know how you would do a musical that big in a space that small.
No, I think it was here. I think that's what I was reading. So that was one of the first things they did downstairs here. And realized that they could have things going downstairs and upstairs, and all kinds of things were going on then. And that's one of the things I like about even now is we have so many things going on, right? We have things in rehearsal and things in production and things in performance and community groups doing things and all kinds of things go on in this building.
It does.
Got to take a quick break here. Want to thank our sponsors again, Dr. John Cox, We Once Pediatrics, and the Photo Place. I want to touch a little bit on the youth theater. It's kind of been over the years an on again, off again kind of thing. You get spurts when it runs for a few years, then nothing happens, then it comes back. How do we lock that in so that it's here for kids to participate in future years?
Hopefully we're working on that now. We have Sarah Dimitrick, who's in charge of it and who's planning the educational component of it. We've got, we're doing the one show this season, our little abbreviated season, that got, when COVID hit, that's the show that was in production. We had a show that was in performance that we were able to finish that run, but the Gonaway Place was just about to open and we had to shut down. So that's coming back. Jim Canacci, who's a marvelous director and really, really good with kids, is going to remount that, and we're just going to continue to move forward with it. It's important. It's important to this board of directors. It's important to our new staff to work with kids. We used to have, when I first started here, a really big youth theater.
Yeah.
But that's where we pooled our talent for the main stage. A lot of our backstage help came through the youth theater. You know, we would, if we needed a kid, we could pull them through the youth
Right.
theater. They grew up and became
Yeah, they
main
learned their
stage,
way up.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So we need to do that. And we had a really wonderful concert this summer that kids were really enthusiastic about. So that gives us a base to work from going forward.
There are some people, and this comment's been going on for years and years and years, that say, when you look at the size of Youngstown, you look at how many theaters are not just in Youngstown, but in the surrounding areas, Newcastle, you know, wherever else, that there's too much theater. Is there such a thing as too much theater in any town?
I don't think so. It's funny because then there's other people that say, oh, there's nothing to do in Youngstown, right? Oh, there's never anything to do in Youngstown. And there's lots to do in Youngstown. The problem comes, and each theater has its own little niche, right? The problem comes is when we're overlapping opening nights. And there are, you know, it's always of concern. I think that new consortium that's downtown is gonna, that's one of the things they're gonna address with their calendar, so that people can, in the future, see things that are planned and work around it. So that if there's something huge that's gonna come in, you know, maybe we won't have an opening night that night, or if we know ahead of time. Or, you know, if the Hopewell's opening their little musical that they're doing and we're opening a musical, maybe we'll try not to conflict because, you know, we don't want to suck everybody's audience away from everybody.
Right.
Luckily, we have long runs, you know, 2 or 3 weekends. So you can go and see our show, you can go and see another theater show. And I think it's good because the actor base gets to go and try different things. Right? So maybe they'll do a show here, then they'll do a show in Newcastle. And they'll come back here, and then they'll do something at the Hopewell. And it gets everybody to know each other better.
Right.
You know, if you've worked with someone in Newcastle and someone's having trouble casting a show here, and you're working on that show, you can go, oh, I worked with this person in Newcastle. Let's see if they're available.
Yeah.
So,
Now, is there a way also along that same line to keep theaters, like an example, we did Mamma Mia here a few years ago, and then there were like 3 theaters that did Mamma Mia within 3 months after. I mean, it's like that duplication of shows. I mean, it's fine for other theaters to do it, but does everybody need to do them all crammed together like that?
well, it's like, we did that. That has happened in this area with Shrek. Now, we haven't done Shrek, but all kinds of other theaters have done Shrek. It happened with the Addams Family, right? It was like, you know, 1 month, that next, everybody did Addams Family. And I think it has to do with when the show becomes available. It's not so much that, you know, they see the Playhouse is doing it, so everybody wants to do it. It's that the show opens up, and you can get the rights to do the show, so you put it on your season, because you know, want to do the show. But strangely enough, we could be planning in deepest, darkest secrecy, the board, what shows we're going to do next year, right? Everybody's sworn to secrecy. Nobody's supposedly talking. We'll publish it, and Newcastle will come up with the same show.
Yeah.
You know, or Salem will come up with the same show, and it's just a I don't know. It's in
Luck
the
of the
air.
draw
It's the
kind of thing.
time,
Yeah, the time,
to redo the show, to revise the show. It's funny, but yeah.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Compare, if you can, when you first came here and what the Playhouse was like then. How has it changed and how has it evolved up to now?
Oh. When I came here, the year that I started working here, it was a big staff. By that point, the staff had grown. We had a set designer, costume designer, a technical director, a couple of assistants, which is what I was. We had a costume assistant, We had, in the office, there was a box office, there was whoever the managing director was, there was the youth theater director, there was, I think there was somebody else, I can't remember.
That's a lot even.
But there were a lot of people on staff, paid to be on staff. And so the productions and we were able to do more with more staff. We were able to do several or 8 things upstairs, things downstairs, have galas, have big campaigns, season ticket campaigns, community support campaigns. There were lots of people. The Women's Guild was still here.
Oh, the Women's Guild was great.
Right? They did, and they would come in. I knew them because Paul would send out a call that he needed people to come in, and they would come in and help him. They loved him. And he was so handsome. They loved him. And so we did South Pacific, and he needed a gazillion flowers, right, to make that tropical island. And those ladies came in, and they made, for 3 weeks, they made flowers. And they were wonderful.
Oh,
I don't know how we were surviving with that theater.
They did all kinds of things.
Yeah, they had parties for us, and that was great. So at that point in time, things were really booming still. It wasn't until after that it really, the recessions and the steel mills closing and people having to move away really affected us and reduced the staff, reduced the money that was available to pay the staff. We just got shrunk.
Yeah, just like the rest of Youngstown.
Yeah.
Kind of got swallowed up a little bit.
What are a lot of the challenges that are facing the Playhouse at this point? And part of that, of course, we've been closed for a year, so that's going to have some effect. But what are some of the other challenges that the Playhouse has faced right now that they've really got to address?
Well, talking about being closed for a year, it's amazing that the equipment doesn't want to work anymore. It's
really?
like we gave it a vacation, and the light board got hurt. The things are just like, you want us to turn back on? We're like, yeah, you gotta come back to work. Our big challenge is this facility. It was, with the dwindling of resources, it was allowed to fall apart a little bit too much. So we're trying to put it back together. We did a big community support, lots of grant writing. We have the money to fix the facade, to fix the stucco that's crumbling, get it repainted, working on the outside. We had gotten all those lights, all the lights redone. And they're all LED. So the parking lot is bright at night, the building is bright. We're gonna get it repainted, and then we could start working on the inside. We have an antique electrical system.
Yeah.
And it's only through the grace of the theater gods that we haven't had any trouble with it. The roof is good now, knock on some wood, the plumbing is okay. But there are some things on stage, we've been, gradually doing a little bit at a time. There are some things that need addressed. It's going to be 100, no, it's 62 years old. It's the same age as I am. And it was let go.
Oh, yeah.
And then damaged with the sprinkler system.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, any building that is that age is gonna have problems here, and especially if they haven't been able to be addressed, this is gonna get worse.
Right. So that's that's one of the things we're focusing on. Like you said, putting the youth theater back together. That's a thing that we're focusing on. We revamped the staff. Finding Kayla Boy was a little miracle. She's wonderful. She's got so much energy, and she's so organized, and she can, she's brought in so much money for us this year.
That's good.
Finish that campaign. We're going to be able to, start on this sometime in August, hopefully. We have a little hurdle we have to jump with the city but they have to inspect the building.
Mhm.
But yeah, she's been wonderful, and
That's
she's,
good.
between her and Josh Green, they've got lots of plans, lots of ideas for involving the community.
Good. That's the important part.
Yeah.
You got to keep the community involved in this.
Right.
As we move into the second 100th years, when we're approaching the 100th anniversary, what does the Playhouse need to do to stay relevant as they move forward beyond the 100 years?
Well, I think that's a question for all theaters. Where do we go next? And it kind of depends on, again, this pandemic that's, swinging in and out of our lives. So we think it's okay, then it's not okay, then it's okay, then it's not okay. And what happens with that? I think we need to embrace some of the online things that theaters are doing, to do a little bit more of that here, which we really haven't done much of. And just continue to follow, which we do, the national trends.
Mhm.
What are the other theaters doing? What's Broadway doing? While talking to our community, what do you want us to do?
Right, exactly, yeah.
What plays would you like to see? We have so many different layers of people and ages. We've
Yeah.
got people that want us to do The Sound of Music every time we turn
Oh, yeah.
around. And there are people that go, why aren't you doing Hamilton yet? And we're like, going, nobody's doing Hamilton yet. So
One extreme to the other.
yeah, right. So
Okay, well, Leslie, I want to thank you for coming in. Our time is up.
you're welcome.
I thank you for coming in this morning, and I'll be seeing you around here, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for joining us for On the Marquee, and we will see you again the next time. Bye-bye.